Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Jo Delamore, and I'm zooming in from traditional Shawnee land in Turtle Island, otherwise known as southeastern rural Ohio in the United States. And I am so happy to welcome you today on behalf of the Work That Reconnects Network webinar and conversation cafe program. In this program, we provide a wide range of rich educational and supportive online events for our global Work That Reconnects community. Our intention is to strengthen the web of the community while reaching beyond its current edges to weave deeper connections with others who are contributing to the great turning in diverse and complementary ways. Today, we're excited to welcome you to Mycelial Resilience, with Work That Reconnects Network facilitator member Hector Aristizabal and from Reconectando, and Claudia González from ECHO. Together with their colleagues in Colombia and beyond, they are weaving mycelial networks of resilience to tend to the healing of collective trauma and co-creation of regenerative cultures in response to the polycrisis our planet is facing. So today I am so delighted to welcome you both and to welcome everybody here. I'll pass it on to you, Hector and Claudia.
And thank you, Jo.
Okay, so thank you, Hector and Jo. Nice to meet you all. I'm Claudia González. I'm Colombian from a city called Cali and living in the mountains of another town called Santa Rosa de Cabal. I'm very pleased to be here co-creating this process with Hector. I'm part of an organization called ECHO. And what we do is to help another organizations and be an ally to other organizations to weave ecosystems, to start working and despertando. I don't know how to say despertando. I'm sorry, English is not my main language.
Awakening.
Awakening some ecosystem consciousness for us to start reconnecting with Earth and to other beings in Earth. So yeah, I'm very pleased to be here. Hector.
Thank you, Claudia. And thank you, Jo and Frida and the Work That Reconnects Network for this generous invitation to share a dream that we have been working in for quite a while, and to see some friends here. I'm very pleased to have you here and to with Claudia to speak to you about this plan that we want you to co-design with us, to co-create with us, because when we speak about mycelium, we are talking about cooperation and collaboration. And I don't know about you, but most of us don't even know when we are already in collaboration, even beyond our will sometimes. So we're going to speak about that rhizomatic way of life weaving itself in our hearts and our souls. And I am here representing Reconectando, which is a project that we have been working on for over 7 years now here in Colombia. And the spinal cord of the work that we have been doing is the spiral of the work that reconnects. And Joanna has been a mentor throughout this whole process, which makes us very happy. But I will share more about how Reconectando came to be, and especially this new project that we want to invite all of you to be part of, which is called the Soul's Mycelium. And I hope that we can talk more about that with you, and that we can receive your input also, because we want this to be a conversation. So we'll do a short presentation, and then we're going to dive into mycelial. Is that a word in English? Mycelium weavers. Okay, good.
Well, yeah. Yeah, we talked about mycelium agents, mycelium weavers. It's great.
Okay. So maybe I should just tell you a little bit about Reconectando. So for those of you who never heard about it. So Reconectando is a project that began 7 years ago here in Colombia. And it linked to a process that Elena Ter Ellen, a beautiful friend from the Dutch land, uh, who was introducing the Work That Reconnect in Colombia, working with ex-combatants and with different groups. And she was a very close friend of Francisco de Roo that became the president of the Truth Commission in Colombia. And he himself had participated in some of the workshops or some of the laboratories. And when we got together, I was coming from exile into Colombia and was invited to one of her workshops, and we immediately connected. We fell in love with the work that we were doing. I brought more the experience of theater that I was using in war zones and places of natural disasters, mostly training psychosocial teams that were working in very wounded places. And what I was also developing a ritual, the creation of rituals with the groups that we were working with, as a way to respond to all the woundedness and the collective trauma that was expressed in the work that we were doing. So one of the ways was creating art as a way to ask questions and to engage in agency, or what can we do about these issues that we don't know how to resolve. But the other part was, what do we do with all this pain and all this collective trauma that is being expressed while we were creating the place? And that's how we started doing ritual. And of course, ritual work was very connected to the work that reconnects. I have had the privilege to have the training with Joanna, and and to tell you the truth, I was not still very convinced of what this was about. It took me, I mean, some of us are very difficult learners, and one of those. So it took me to go to Colombia and feel the roots growing on the soles of my feet to start really embodying the depths of what Joanna's work and the work that reconnects was talking about. And also it helped me a lot when I moved from the big city into the rural area and began to put my hands and my fingers in the soil. And you know that is when you lick your fingers and there is dirt in it, the mycelium is entering us. And when you start taking your own plants and eating your own lettuce and tomatoes, it makes a huge difference. And when you are able to transform a place that is barren, and in less than 4 or 5 years, it looks like a forest, because that's the magic of being in Colombia, which we want to invite you to come to see and experience. So that all make a big difference in our lives. Reconectando has mostly changed who I am, and this work is constantly changing us and helping us heal. So we created Reconectando. We use the word that reconnect as the core of the work that we do. And then we embrace other methodologies in different parts of the work. We use a lot of theater when we're looking with new eyes as a way to activate both collective imagination and collective wisdom. And then every time that we go to a territory, we also invite the medicines of the territory. So we work a lot with indigenous people. We work a lot with Afro-Colombians. We work in places where there are Reiki schools. We work with places where they use plant medicines. And we try to acknowledge all those medicines and incorporate them in the work that we do, mostly with ex-combatants from all the different groups and victims from all the different groups, as well as community organizers, a lot of people who have experienced burnout, who are very charged with all the pain that they have been dealing with for many years. And of course, the wonderful rituals that the Work That Reconnects has provided us with. This, we call it spiritual tools that are very inspired in the ancestral wisdom of this land. We combined all of that, and that's why we call it laboratories, because each time that we go to a place is different. Each time the alchemy of the group and the alchemy of the more than human world in which we do the work, this womb of nature in which we enter, is transforming us and is transforming the methodologies and is transforming what we do. And part of the Soul Mycelium is our desire to share our experience with other people, with other myceliadoras from the other places, and make it like an exchange of medicines. Like, this is what we do, and this is what happens, and tell us what you do. But we'll tell you more about those details in a little bit. And of course, in this work, we have found incredible people and organizations that resonate with this work. And ECO is one of those organizations. And of course, Claudia is going to tell us a little bit more about what ECO does in Colombia and how we came together to put this Source Mycelium. So, Claudia.
Thank you, Hector. It's so nice to reconnect and remember all this, the seed where all this comes from, all that work that you've been doing in territories and actually strengthening the capacities in young people to reconnect with Earth. In my case, well, I'm part of ECHO. I'm founder of ECHO, an organization that's been working over the last years with organizations with a social purpose to reconnect among themselves and to weave ecosystems, to weave from the inside to the outside through a model that goes from an inner place to empower organizations to recognize themselves as a seed for the great turning, to then help them to weave with other organizations through their shared purpose, and then to take it to territories for regenerative processes. So in our work, we have been like mixing and adding things with different methodologies, working from theory U, the work that reconnects, ecopsychology, and other perspectives that help people be brought together and reconnect from the basis of the earth, of reconnecting ourselves as earth beings, to then heal, to then start to be able to heal in an individual perspective and in a collective perspective, to then being able to dialogue properly and to co-create with others the world that we want to be part of. And to then to be able to imagine the possible futures and to activate the imaginal cells in our selves and the collectives we are part of. So over the last years, we have activated, over the last year exactly, we activated an important ecosystem in Colombia about regenerative cultures, which we invited Re-Conectando to be part of. And it was a process where we brought together around 90 organizations. We were 4 organizations, co-creators of the process, then invited another 11 organizations who already were being part of the regenerative process in Colombia, to weave together all the process and to bring in the network and the process, their networks, they're not only from the organizations, but also from the people that we're working with in territories, their financiers, all of their networks, so they could strengthen their capacities to keep on working from these perspectives in the future. And then invited so many other people to be part of like responding to the call we were making, that was, let's co-create, let's weave these regenerative cultures in Colombia. And then part of this process was Reconectando, and we identified in the process, which was also made of having a series of webinars, of online calls and meetings with weavers and people. And it had a principal meeting in November, an encounter of 3 days with Otto Scharmer about theory, in which we actually mixed a little bit of the work that reconnects with Héctor. And we did a council of all beings. And well, part of that is what we identified in this meeting, that collective healing and the healing of collective trauma was essential for co-creating regenerative cultures. So it was like the basis of it. And then Hector invited us to be part of the Souls Mycelium as a weavers. And right now we're intending to weave the ecosystem of collective healing in Colombia, to make this not only an event, but a healing also, and a reconnecting and a weaving process for organizations and people who are already working in collective healing, in trauma, in collective trauma, but also in territorial development, in environmental processes, and who understand that collective healing is the basis for regenerative process to actually work, and for environmental processes and territorial and community process to actually work. Because it's about reconnecting to the web of life, reconnecting to ourselves, the others, and the earth principally, through the basis of the work that reconnects. So right now it's like our main call, like let's identify and recognize ourselves through all of us who are doing this work in Colombia and many other places, not only Colombia, because we're calling for a global network. And let's work together through collaboration. Actually, inviting one organization a couple of days ago, they told me, I have, who else is coming? And I told them, yeah, this other organization working in Colombia is coming. And they said like, oh, I know them. I've been following them over the last years, but I thought I never came close because I saw them as a competency. I don't know if that's the word, but they are my competitors. So I couldn't work with them. I think that's not the word, but I think it was understood. So they're my competitors. I couldn't work with them. But if we cannot work together, if we're working and we are like looking at the same purpose, which is collective healing, which is reconnecting with earth, which is like having a like better way of living for all beings in the earth, then how are we going to be coherent with what we're talking about? So collaboration and weaving through individuals and collectives, organizations, is the way of having this mycelium of the soul coming to our social field. So this is why we're calling for this. And yeah, that's a little bit of us and how were we coming together with Hector and Re-Conectando. And actually we're weaving many things here. Right now we are with Hector in Mexico in a retirement with Theory U, and we're mixing all again the Council of All Beings with Theory U and all of the processes of social fields, because we're needing and recognize that the need of bringing the earth into the conversation. A lot more than talking about the earth, a lot more talking about reconnecting with earth. Yeah, we are earth, so let's like be those earth right now. And yeah, we're having that in a couple of hours actually. And so I don't know if you want to add something up about the Souls Mycelium, Hector.
No, only if we start transforming into weird beings here is because we're already being possessed by them, and sometimes we are not very articulate in English, but like that it might happen differently. But no, it's not a joke. I feel maybe tell you what is our intention with this Souls Mycelium gathering. Initially it was for Reconectando to continue training the people that we had met through the laboratories. We call them semillas, seeds of Reconectando. But that was just a name because most of these people are forest because of the amazing work that they do in the territories. And the way they responded to the laboratory led us to invite them to be part of this network. We had an incredible luxury and privilege to travel all over Colombia, thanks to the Truth Commission, and to work with leaders, both from the different armed groups that were demobilizing and that were signing the peace agreement. And then being able to work with them and to work, as I mentioned before, with lots of leaders. But then many of them felt that they wanted to continue using these methodologies. So we did some trainings among the different people that we were identifying. And this year we were going to do a new training. But when we were thinking about it, we had also been in conversation with many people like you who had been very interested in coming to Colombia and participate in the laboratories. But because of the confidentiality of being with ex-combatants and victims, it was very difficult for us to make that invitation. But we felt now that we were ready to do that. The Truth Commission ended its work 2 years ago, but we continue doing it because we felt the importance and the urgency and the desire everywhere to work on reconciliation, but mostly to work in collective healing. And you know, this is not only a privilege of Colombia, in this moment, the entire world is dealing, and I feel becoming very aware of the existence of collective trauma and the urgency of collective healing. And of course, the Work That Reconnect is one of the most powerful forms of addressing that, especially addressing the pain that we all feel in our souls for what is happening with us as humanity and with us as a world. So then we decided to call for this Souls Mycelium encounter. And I would say, in other words, is when we meet with elders, like we have had the opportunity here in Querétaro, there are incredible elders from different cultures doing rituals. When we meet with the elders and they come together, they often share medicine with each other. The guayo or the coca leaf or the mambe or the ambil or some kind of medicine, the stories of their cultures, of their cosmology. We want that kind of encounter, that we come together to share medicine, to share what we do, to share how we do it, how we open these methodologies, how we use dragon dreaming to when we are in the fourth moment of the spiral and we're moving ahead, or we use the art of hosting, or we use theory U, and all these other beautiful methodologies that are somehow speaking about the same, but doing it from different places, from different rivers. It's as if all these little rivers are coming together now. And and then the other thing that we feel, since ritual is so important in the work that we do, and not only the truth mandala as a ritual, the council of all beings, the seven generation, we have explored all of them, but we also design rituals with the stories that come from the people that participate. Because as you know, ritual responds to a problem or a situation in the moment and is rooted in the ancestral. And ritual is the place where humanity heals. So we want to see this laboratory as a rite of passage, because we feel, as maybe many of you also might resonate with that, as humanity, we are moving from this caterpillar devouring the world almost to extinction, but we are now in the cocoon. We are now in this huge moment of transformation, and every second is even more extreme. And hopefully, what we want to do is inside that cocoon, as in the butterfly, the imaginal cells, all of us, the imaginal cells that are dreaming the new world that is coming out, emerging as the old world collapses, that we can see each other and we can bless each other and we can recognize each other. Because as the caterpillar, the world is creating a lot of resistance to the movement of transformation, because there is a lot of fear and doubt and all of this. But we need to reinforce each other, to pollinize each other, to welcome each other. And part of that for us is also, that is very important, is to bring young leaders. We have met amazing young people in the territories doing incredible work, many of them even with their lives being threatened. And it's not a threat, an empty threat, no, it's a real threat. And we want them to come to a place where they can see adults that still love life. I think that's very important. At least it saved my life. To meet mentors, to meet people that are in love with life, and and to see each other also, because when you are in a certain moment of your life and you see young people uh, vibrating with life in a way that is so unique, you know, you also get reignited. You don't get retired, you get refired. You know, you get reconnected with life and with your passion and etc. So we want also to be a place. uh, we feel that it's very urgent to initiate our youth to bless the gift, the medicine that they bring into the world, but also to initiate our elders into elders. Because the role of the olderhood is decrepitude. And it's going to happen to all of us. Don't worry about it. But the elder is the person who connects to their wisdom, to their. In Spanish, we said not to the saber, but to the sabor. Not so much what you know is what you have learned to savor, to taste, to delight in life. What is the medicine, the beauty that brings joy to you, to your soul, that brings energy to your spirit, and that heals you from your woundedness? So we also want to do that in this process, to see the imaginal selves, to bless the young people, to become mentors, which is the road of the elder, and to honor our elders. I have met so many people that have given 30, 40 years of their life with passion to a lot of beautiful work and have never been seen nor recognized. I want to recognize them. And so, anyway, these are just some of the things, but we also have like thematic themes, and Claudia is much better than me to to speak about that. So we get like a little sense. And then we want to do some practice because it's not just Claudia and I speaking here. We want to hear from you and see what resonates, etc. So maybe Claudia, can you tell us a little bit about the 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 teams that we will be uh, because we have some guests from that are coming from different parts of the world. And actually, we had some funding for this, and all the funding was cut. Some of the funding depended on USAID, and some of the funding depended on the Inter-American Foundation. Both organizations had been cut by the Trump-Musk administration, and then it has caused a lot of havoc in many places, in many organizations that have been decapitated. Many programs are being closed right now, especially in Latin America and Africa. Most of the programs working with nature, working with gender issues, and working with human rights, because none of those things are important as the Make America Great Again people believe. I don't know why, but anyway. But there are some other people that have been supporting incredible projects in many different parts of the world that are now cut. However, I want to share with you, and Joe Delamore has been very insistent in doing this, is that in all the meetings with hundreds of people, even people who have becoming indebted to make sure that their programs operate, who will not receive the money that they spent. I remember this man from Bolivia who borrowed 100 million pesos, Bolivian pesos, and he said, "I'm going to end up in prison because there is no way I can pay for this. And if USA doesn't bring me that money, I'm done." Anyway, but they said, but if I'm going to prison, I will continue doing what I do. And he synthesized for me what I heard from all the other leaders, from all the other organizations. And this is when the mycelium is so crucial for all of us. But Claudia, thank you.
Thank you, Hector. I think I'm having problems with sharing because of my internet right now, but I think Frida is going to help me with the presentation. So this is the Soul's Mycelium, a calling for strengthening the global community for collective trauma healing and co-creation of regenerative cultures, as we were telling you before. I'm going to go just like briefly through telling you a little bit more about all of this. If we can go to the next slide, please. So this is precisely a call coming from this moment of public crisis that we're facing, and all about that was Hector just telling you, where we believe that it's also a moment for awakening, a moment for a huge possibility of reconnecting with the earth, with the world, and healing together. It comes as a call to weave together, as we were telling you before, a living network of people and organizations in Colombia and other places in the world, to heal together collective trauma and co-create regenerative cultures through, and a network that we want to strengthen through different spaces of dialogue, of visibilization of experiences, of exchanges to strengthen territorial initiatives, to alliances to promote social and ecological regeneration. Because as we were telling you before, also we believe that collective healing is the basis for our regenerative cultures. Those cultures that emerge from learning from nature as a response to public crisis, and in the ways of ecological, social, and spiritual divides, and a way of strengthening the balance and resilience of communities and ecosystems. So, as we were telling you before, also we have in this weaving, we have different sources of inspiration. Primarily, the next one, please. Primarily the work that reconnects, but we're also weaving with other methodologies and frameworks, theory review, collective and ecosystem rituals, and other tools such as social theater, ecofeminisms, rituals themselves, and well, many other things. So we can find each other in this encounter that we're going to have from the 23rd to the 28th of June in Colombia, in a place called Ecoaldea Atlántida, which is like I don't know what the word of Ecoaldea is in English. I don't remember it. This intentional communities for living.
Eco village.
Eco villages. Thank you. So we're going to be meeting there in a beautiful eco village in Colombia. And we're going to be having like a transformative experience where we want to we want to bring tools and a place for people to reconnect with ancestral knowledge and territorial memory, and exploration of rituals, a bridge for transformation and understanding of the interdependence of the world. We want to also bring tools for regenerative leadership based on reconnecting with earth and its ways of working, and experience of collective healing principally. To then, and for this, we're going to have a series of people invited, international invitados. We're gonna be there with Héctor from Colombia and Re-Conectando, also with and all of this is we're gonna be there also with Laura Calderón de la Barca, which is a Mexican woman working with systemic trauma and collective healing. She comes from the Collective Change Lab, an organization that's working with this around the world, with very beautiful tools of systems healing. There's going to be here also Joe Delamore, who you all know and who is here with us. Holger Hieronimi, working with ecosocial regeneration, and he's part of Ecoaldea Atlántida in Colombia. We have we will also be there with Marian Rios, a woman that's the president of the IES, the International Ecopsychology Society, based in Italia, and who leads Coru Transformación, an organization from Chile and Colombia working with ecopsychology for individual and collective transformation. We'll also be there with Clara Noriega Sanchez. She's a psychotherapist working with the Rainbow of Desire and Internal Family Systems. She has a project called Kaleidoscope Project, which is very powerful and beautiful. Also, will be there with us Andrea Eguren, who's working with art with nature and through a proposal called Arte Basal. And we will also be having so many more people working with seeds, working with tools, facilitation tools for caring of people and facilitators themselves. And well, through these 3 days or 5 days, I'm sorry, we have an agenda. We will be going through the whole spiral through these 5 days, going from gratitude to honoring pain to seeing with new eyes and going forward. And the way we're going to do this is also connecting with specific themes that are important for collecting healing. And the first of them is talking about and recognizing living systems. Well, we will explore the wisdom of nature and in belonging and interconnection. To then go to the second moment of healing collective trauma, and we will honor the pain and connect with trauma as a shared wound, then how we can heal it in a more than a human community, which is like the very power of all this process. And to then go to seeing with new eyes to the power of ritual in the face of polycrisis, where we will integrate ancestral wisdom and other frameworks as ecofeminism, eco-masculinities, and many other tools to connect with going to another place, like going through the ritual to arrive to the other side. And then on the fourth moment, we're going to going forward to a regenerative paradigm and collective healing, where we will think of ideas and alternatives to revitalize the web of life in concrete actions through with the organizations and people who will be there participating. And this is like the journey we're going to have. I don't know if you want to add something, Hector, to the journey.
No, I think that we have plenty of plenty of information. I would love if maybe we can, yeah, we can open a little bit to the field and and see what is being. Sometimes we have so much information, and of course, if any of you wishes to know more about this, how this is being interwoven, you can. We will give you the places to link to, and keep you informed. We're also going to do some webinars to speak about the different moments that we are co-creating right now with the different people who are going to participate. But right now, maybe I would love to, unless there is a question of any of you with or a resonance from what we have heard so far. Ellen, yes.
A question that's been consuming me. So
Okay.
I want to ask you if you would go back to the beginning, and I'm trying to imagine there's this terrible fighting, and then there's a peace process, and you don't need to talk about that. That'd be too long. But then somewhere comes this truth commission, this healing, and the work that reconnects. So I'm trying to picture it. Is there somebody there, like a combatant or a victim, who says, let's do the work that reconnects? Or, how did that happen? That seems like a miracle to me.
Well, in Colombia, and I felt that most of us had been victims of war. I mean, the United States has been the protagonist of more than 100 in the last century alone. You had the bloodiest civil war in history, and et cetera, et cetera. So, but all this woundedness has not been processed, and that's why I feel we continue reproducing the conditions for healing, and when it doesn't happen, there is killing. There is more killing. No, in Colombia, Ellen, who is a practitioner of the Work That Reconnects, was beginning to introduce the Work That Reconnect to Colombia and doing laboratories. And then I came from exile and met her, and then we started weaving together the Work That Reconnects with theater. She was already doing some of it, and with healing rituals. And we met with the president of the Truth Commission, and that's how we were able to work with the Truth Commission, not inside the Truth Commission, but alongside, and get the funding to be able to invite groups of 20, 25 people into places of deep nature, into the mother's womb, and then do this 5-day laboratories where we invited ex-guerrillas, ex-paramilitares, ex-militaries, and victims from all the different groups, as well as community organizers and environmental leaders. And those we were able to do over 25 laboratories like that. And after the Truth Commission ended its mandate because it created the report, it took almost 4 years. Then we continued doing the work. So the last 2 years we have been working as Reconectando for reconciliation and the healing of collective trauma.
Wow.
But thank you, Ellen, for.
I mean, I've heard about the Truth Commission in South Africa, which you know about, and in Rwanda. And I saw once there was a person who had lost his entire family to the other side in Rwanda, and the two were sitting down next to each other. And, you know, that's amazing. So,
Yes, we had witnessed that. We have witnessed that in the Truth Mandala. I could tell you hundreds of stories of how during the ritual, and of course, don't tell Joanna Macy, but we often break the ritual. Not we, but the process. No, during the ritual, all of a sudden, this woman gets up and stands in front of the ex-guerrilla and says to him, I want to ask you for forgiveness. And this poor warrior, can you imagine? She said, look, I came here and I was afraid because I was told you were going to be here, people from your organization, and you guys killed my husband in front of me, and you took my son, and I don't know what happened to him, or you raped my daughter, and I wish the worst for you. I wish death, I wish torture, I wish at least prison. But now that I heard your story, I feel that you could be my son. So I want to ask you for forgiveness.
wow.
So these are just kind of the moments that we were able to experience. And yes, I could give you many, many moments like that. But it's the power of this work that reconnects. For example, another ex-guerrilla man says to me, I was kidnapped by the guerrilla when I was 11, and then I stayed because I like it. That's what he said. And I was 35 years in the jungle. When he came out of the jungle, he didn't know that people did their needs in toilets and push the water. He didn't know that. So that kind of life he lived. But he said, when the first day you ask us to ask permission to the river to cross it, I said, oh my God, where the hell am I right now? What is going on here? But then after 5 days, for the first time in my life, I see the trees and I see the animals as beings with soul. And I never killed them for sport. I killed them to eat them. And I never cut trees for cutting trees because they were the place where we hide. But now I see them different. So because you can live in the forest and never see the forest as a living being, you know, never see the mycelium also, which happened to all of us as humanity. That's why this metaphor is so important for us, and it's not a metaphor, it's a true reality that this invisible network that has fed life before we even knew that it existed. We just discovered it like 40, 50 years ago, thanks to mushrooms, mostly magic mushrooms, because they are magic. They open they expand our state of consciousness. But studying the mushrooms, we discovered all this incredible web. And then we discovered that web was the internet of the forest. We thought that we had discovered the internet. No, it's already existed since the beginning of life, Right now, we are exchanging viruses and bacteria, even through Zoom. So don't worry. And our internal system, this garden that we are, is is taking it in and transforming it. But so this metaphor for us, when we do the work with collective trauma, what we do is we like the mycelium is what makes part of that dance of life, death, regeneration. When something dies or a tree falls and starts decomposing, the mycelium enters and transforms death into life and takes nutrients that still serve life from that organism that is decomposing. I feel that what we do is we go into the collective trauma, into our woundedness, and we help resignify it. So it so we free that frozen energy of trauma. Do you understand that theory of trauma? That when trauma happens, trauma is not what happens to us, is what we do with what happened to us. So, but often what happens there is that we protect our system when it feels overwhelmed, either physiologically or emotionally or spiritually, and we protect with fight, flight, freeze, and many other ways, but that's the most common one. So I can have 60 years old, and some of you tell me something, and then I become 12 and feel paralyzed and feel ashamed of something that I said or whatever it is. My trauma gets triggered by someone, and then I'm no longer 65. I am 12, or I am 5, or I am, yeah. So when we free that frozen energy, we feel that that's the energy that can now serve us in the emerging future. The soul's mycelium for us is that invitation, is how we all together work with each other, as the mycelium does, in this rhizomatic way, not linear way, but rhizomatic, collective, including the more than human world, which is something that we're discovering more and more and more in the work that we do and in the lives that we have. Oh, I see a hand. Is that Sophia?
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing more about this. I really am inspired by the stories. I was curious if you could tell us more about what social theater is and like what it
Mm.
actually looks like in practice.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, thank you. Well, I started doing theater since I was small, and it saved my life. I mean, theater really allowed me to imagine, to activate my imagination and imagine a world very different to the world of the most violent city in the world, that was Medellin at the time that I was growing up. Mafia, guerrilla, paramilitarism, etc. So the social theater, especially the one that we use, is very inspired in the work of Augusto Boal, Theater of the Oppressed, and the work of Arwana, which is, had the pleasure to be with her right now, of social presence in theater, which is the theater that allows us to be fully in the moment, in the present. And also Teya Sepinuk, that does theater of witness. And then the word that I have been developing more and more, which is ritual theater. And what we do with especially with image theater and games and improvisations, is that we create improvisations about the issues that we don't know how to resolve. And since all of us are experts in our lives, all of us, everybody is an expert in their lives, although we have been told that we're not, and we're asked to read all kinds of things, but please read the book of your life because you're an expert in that book. And so with that expertise and the fact that we're all actors, all of us are constantly performing. I'm trying to perform to be someone who is in a webinar talking about the soul's mycelium. We are always performing. And then we do plays, we do scenes with that about situations that we don't know how to resolve. And then we ask questions and invite the audience to participate, to intervene, to break the fourth wall and become spectators. It's called forum theater. So what it creates a aesthetic dialogue, not an ideological dialogue. Oh, I know how to resolve this problem. No, it's aesthetic dialogue, and it also activates our collective imagination and our sense of agency, because theater becomes a rehearsal for life. So I can go into the situation and try to do something and see what happened with it. So it's a very rich dialogue with communities where they all feel that we have the capacity for agency and that we can try different things. Of course, there is much more, but then doing this work led me to doing the ritual work, because doing this work, a lot of the woundedness of the communities that I work with appear. And I felt that the plays were not enough to deal with it. And so we started developing, creating rituals with the communities about the issues that have come during the process of creating the plays. And but there is much more, but and of course we use dance and we use games all the time to connect with each other, and then we use visual arts. This we also always try to create spaces of deep beauty, and the altars are beautiful always, and they always have nature in them. And of course we are inviting you to the most biodiverse country in the world, Colombia, and there are cathedrals everywhere. We have discovered waterfalls of 70 meters. I feel that my work is how to invite people to enter into a waterfall, not to take a selfie, but to allow the grandmother to cleanse, to clean your skin and help you be reborn. That's all I do, is to create the conditions for that. And those are the very simple, humble rituals that we invite people into. Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you.
Do you feel like we do a little practice now?
Yes,
Or
let's
yeah,
connect to the
yeah,
mycelium.
exactly. Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you something before we move into breakout rooms?
Oh, yes, please.
Just to kind of bring like the focus back into the mycelium before we send people into their rooms. I'm wondering if we can presence and focus like what does mycelium do? Like what does it really do? And you did say some things in there, but I just maybe kind of like consolidated in so people can go into their breakout rooms with that felt sense of what is the mycelium actually doing and why are we using this term? Like why are we feeling ourselves as myceliodores?
Hmm. Yeah, and this is my understanding is and there is a beautiful documentary that was very inspiring for us called Fantastic Fungi. And if you can access it, it's in Netflix, and is so beautiful also visually. But what it shows is that underground, under our feet, there is this incredibly sophisticated network of um, mycorrhizas. Well, it's not one thing, it's millions of things. And they move together, and they are the ones that interconnect the roots of the trees, and they are constantly sending nutrients, water, and communicating even when there are threats. Like, for example, a plague moves by and takes a tree and devours it. The tree sends messages to the other trees to get rid of their leaves, even if it's plenty of summer. And I mean, we are still just discovering the incredible power of this invisible, up to very recently, network that sustain life. And of course, we are now with poison and with caterpillars, not the caterpillar, with the caterpillar machine, removing the soil and cutting the threads of the mycelium and burning it and poisoning it with pesticides and all kinds of things. However, the resiliency, the capacity of resilience of the mycelium is incredible. When you leave a terrain that has been poisoned and depleted, and there is a nearby mycelium, the mycelium starts sending messages and reweaving the fabric of life in that place. And as I mentioned before, when in the dance of life, death, regeneration, the mycelium is the great recycler of nutrients. It transforms endings into beginnings, death into nutrients, and many other characteristics. I mean, when a tree gets cut by one of our chainsaws, the mycelium keeps it alive, and then eventually, new how do you call that? Things sprout out of the trunk, and or of course, where there is a fire and where there are other natural situations, the mycelium is constantly there. And also, we constantly, in each breath, we are changing the as I said before, we are exchanging things from the mycelium. In every breath, we're breathing the mycelium, the spores that the mycelium uses to spread. In the bread we eat, in the wine that we use to toast for life, it is really, in the medicines that we take when we're sick, everywhere are the invisible threads of the mycelium. And we also feel that is true about the soul, that also we are interconnected, and we have been told the story of separation. And I think our invitation for the soul mycelium is how to reweave each other, to life, to each other, and to our dreams. But maybe, Claudia, why don't you take us into a little place before we go into the breakout rooms?
Yes, great. Let's connect to this mycelium then. So I want to invite you to put your body in a comfortable way, maybe in a more just way to your body, as Arawana would say, maybe. And then if you have your legs crossed, maybe you can take them apart, put your foot over the ground. Take a little bit of your heart a little bit more to the front, your shoulders down, onto the back. Maybe take your head up as if you were taken with a little leg to the sky, like if you were called to bring your head to the sky. And then I invite you to breathe, and if you want to close your eyes, put your side a little bit down as you would feel comfortable with. And I invite you then to breathe in and breathe out, recognizing the speed and the rhythm your breath needs right now, reconnecting with the sound and the rhythm of your heart. And recognizing you are there, your body's there, feeling the gravity of your body going down the earth, feeling your body resting on the chair you're sitting in. Your foot touching the ground, the earth that's holding us all together. The soil that's beneath our feet. And under those foot, touching that soil that's holding us all together, start feeling the earth beneath us and all its living beings in there. You can start imagining how some roots go out of your foot. And go through the earth. Going down the earth to one side and another. Just feeling how you're rooted in this earth. Maybe start recognizing other living beings in there. Some tree roots, some animals, some insects. Starting to saying hello to them. And then finding the mycelium, these roots of the earth that it's holding us all together. All of this web that interconnects everything. And you start touching it with your roots as well, weaving with it, being part of it. When in your life have you been nurtured by this mycelium? When in your life have you been nurtured by some of these trees and vegetables and animals? Maybe breathing the air that you're breathing in right now. So thank you to that tree that brings it to you, and its roots and the mycelium that brings food to it every day, every second, every minute. Maybe through the food you ate this morning, the vegetables, the animals, if you eat animals. So there's the mycelium bringing you all this nurturing as well to your body, to your human body, being part of this earth. And then recognizing and acknowledging, thanking to this mycelium, I invite you to dissolve yourself into it. As if your human body were coming all dissolved to the earth and mixing up with all of the soil that's beneath us, mixing up with all of the roots of trees and insects and animals and serpents that live beneath the earth. And then you go slowly through each of these parts of the mycelium as a nutrient for everything else in the world. Then you are the mycelium. You're quiet, but moving all the time. You're unseen, but holding all of the earth. You're wise, as you have all of the information of the living earth. You're essential for all that breathes, all that feels, all that exists. And then you start spreading beneath the forest, reaching out to all directions. You go through one tree or another. You are that who nourishes dying roots and give birth to new life. You carry water, minerals, and even warning signals. You also feel the pain of the burnt tree. You sense the joy of a spelling bursting into bloom. And even when the surface is destroyed by fire, by machines, by violence, you remain that unseen, that quiet, that wise, that essential. And you recognize, you remember you're not alone, that everything around you, other mycelium beings are weaving with you too. You're touched, You are fed. You are listened. You are resilient. What message would this mycelium, would you, mycelium, have for the rest of the forest? What memory do you hold for those who are just in sprouting? What wisdom do you share with every ever being seen? So you start taking back yourself from those roots of the mycelium, with slowly going back to the roots of your foot, your feet. And you start connecting again with the bottom part of your feet. Start feeling your legs, your knees. And start going up through your spine, to your neck, to your head, to the upper part of your head. And connecting with this outsider space that's on the bottom of your head. And that's the space that is all around you, in front of your body, in the back part of your body, on the right side of your body, the left side of your body. And you're here again, being that mycelium and this human body at the same time. And whenever you can feel it, you can start opening your eyes, letting light come through them slowly, gently, moving a little bit. Your shoulders, your head. And we want to invite you to breakout rooms right now. Maybe after having a deep breath. And in these breakout rooms, we're going to be sharing. We want to invite you to share a little bit of what did the mycelium feel for you in your body. How does it feel to be that mycelium? And what message did it have for you, and does it have for us? So you're gonna go in pairs, and you're gonna have each 5 minutes to share. So we're gonna have 4 questions. The first of them is, what did the mycelium feel for you? What message does it have for you and us? What are you connected to, and what is it nurturing and you're being nurtured by right now? Have a good talk.
Hey, welcome back. I see some smiles, so that I hope that's a good sign. I hope that. So we would love to hear from you. Yeah, we're talking about that, and maybe if you want to share a little bit of what emerges, what became more conscious about our connection to mycelium, to the soul of the world. And so we'd love to hear from any of you who want to share with us. Yes, Joe, my friend.
Hola, Héctor.
Beloved friend. Thank you. Great to see you.
Good to see you. I had a wonderful moment there with Mary in Kentucky. And Mary is working with the Poor People's Campaign and Reverend Barber. It's been raining there for 4 days, but she's promised she's getting out. So I think for both of us, it felt like a moment of visceral sensation of the mycelium. It's so easy to retreat to the familiarity of separation, alienation. I'm so acculturated to that. That's how I grew up. Those are the messages that I got. So the opportunity here to feel on a visceral level what sustains life. And this question, this sense of it being is I would like to say, putting a lie to the illusion of distance, that we're not that far apart, that we're on the living earth. And distance is what is it? What is it? Because people are feeling so alienated, and so much of the trauma and the comes from a lack of sensing community. So I'm grateful, Claudia. It was such a beautiful opportunity to, it carried so much connection and regeneration. And I thank you. I thank you both. Much love to you.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah. I mean, I fully resonate with you just said, but I would love to hear more from our network, our mycelium network.
I would love to share.
Yes, Ella,
Hi.
please. Hi.
I got to be with Sophia, and we shared a common common ground in dealing with chronic pain, and how that pain has been a teacher, and how pain can open us to widen the perception of who we are out of necessity, to be the container for that pain rather than be in the pain. And that's how the mycelium felt to me, like this spaciousness. And this, even when something appears very solid, there's always so much spaciousness, especially when we look on this tiniest of levels. There's what's most evident is this room in between what appears to be solid. And so that ability of the mycelium to find where there is room and to bring that presence into that space. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's very moving that you also connect this, what's happening in the soil, in the humus, with what's happening in us as soil for not just for pain or illness or whatever the expression is, but also the spaciousness to transmute everything, which is
Yes.
an incredible capacity of this human being
Yes.
that we're trying to become. Yeah.
When you were a kid, did you have a coloring book that had just a bunch of lines, and you colored all the ones red and all the twos blue and all the threes another color, and suddenly this image lifts out of that matrix of design? And this is the shifting in consciousness back and forth from now I emerge as something unique within this matrix, and now I can ease back into it, and it's very soul nourishing and powerful to hold hold that awareness
Mm.
that I am just it's for me, getting that metaphor was a helpful way to efface myself and then re-emerge. It's like the wave lifting and having a distinct, every wave is different. I arise and say I am, and then just fall back into the ocean once more. So that's how it felt to me.
Well, I hope we continue swimming in this ocean for a while, but before we
Yes,
go to the other oceans that we are part of. But
yes, me
thank you.
too. Thank you.
Beautiful images. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, it's another voice.
Michael shared through the chat that he also appreciated the practice and was reminded to be more present and observant of connections with all of life and other people.
Mm.
Reconnecting, that's what brings us. Thank you, Michael, for sharing. Now,
Thank
Ellen, did you
you.
have your hand up?
Yeah, I just feel confirmed, as I often do, by the talk that preceded and then by the short time I had with Nikki, that there's no way to peace and love through the linear method that the human being in many places wants to do. We seem stuck on that. And I know what you are doing is not, because you talked about like the non-human life and the spirit and the soul. So I feel thankful every time that's confirmed for me, because in the greater world, it can be hard to hang on to that truth. That's truth. So I appreciate you being here. And I appreciate everybody being here.
Thank you, Ellen. And thank you for naming that the interbeing, the interser that we are. And modernity has convinced us that we are alone, that we are individuals. And the practices that we do in Reconectando and that we have been experiencing this week here in Mexico with different abuelos y abuelas, elders from different communities, is all about that awareness that we are part of the world that exists still in so many traditional cultures and ancestral cultures, and that we are remembering and we are reconnecting with. Is that your hand, Joe? Yes. Joe del Amor.
Yeah, I raised my hand.
Oh.
So the thing that is really interesting to me in this moment, as we're exploring the soul's mycelium and the wisdom of mycelium, and the kind of metaphor, but also more than a metaphor, the invitation that it is for us right now, is like our attention is being called, I would say, almost like upward into all of these fights and activities and information and overwhelm from all of the like government and news and economic things that are happening. And if we're putting our attention up there, and in that kind of like individual kind of way, it unroots us in this sort of way, and that there's this call to deepen our roots and to do that mycelial thing of like strengthening relationships and connecting with each other and nourishing each other and being reciprocal and deepening. And so I'm just kind of I don't know, I wanted to talk a little bit about and hear from you too about the ways that you and the other humans that you're working with are acting like mycelium. Like, how is it that, like, and to inspire us as well to know like where to be putting our energy, what to be feeding, to be more deeply regenerative in our human actions and choices.
Thank you, Joe. Well, there are so many different ways in which I felt this mycelium quality of the work is evolving and is unique in each territory that we have been able to visit with the work. In some places, for example, a lot of the people who have participated are transforming their farms into organic farms because some of the places where we have done the laboratories are doing exactly that. And one way for us to support that work and the permaculture work. So now the other people are feeling inspired to do that, and they pollinize each other. They exchange information. We also have a growing group of what we call a community of practice, where we not only share some of the methodologies that we use and share the conceptual frameworks that we are inspired by, but also we always share, invite some of the seeds of Reconectando to share their experiences. On the other hand, for example, we just had we didn't even have to do the truth mandala. We had an encounter, and the truth mandala has already been integrated so much into this group. There is a region of the country that unfortunately is experiencing a lot of confrontation right now between the ELN and the ex-combatants from FARC. And the main target are the people who signed the peace agreement. They have killed so far 7 people. There are 2 disappeared that we fear had been killed. And there were some people from firmantes or people who signed the agreement who are part of Reconectando that we were all very concerned with. But just the support, the prayers, the rezos, the asking some support, economic support from some of us that could do that. This woman was able to share how it kept her alive in so many ways. And she decided to go, she was outside of the region when these confrontations happened. It created 42,000 internally displaced people in less than a week. It was totally overwhelming for the local government. And some people were being killed and threatened and disappear. And she decided to go back and to meet with her husband. And also she spoke about her gallinas, her chicken, her dog. And when she arrived, the husband immediately said, "Look, the plants are dry, but I have been putting water in them." And then she was sharing with us, they were so sad because of what was happening. And so to have a community, even if it is a virtual community where this quality of sharing is happens, I feel nourish all of us and allows us to feel the interconnectedness of that we all have. And I'm sure Claudia and I appreciate also to be able to be with you today to share with you this project that we're working on, and especially in this moment in which the official funding was cut for us, and then we all look at each other and say we cannot do this. But another part of us said, now more than ever, we have to do this. And so the network is the mycelium is how do we support these kinds of encounters where we can continue nourishing our souls, connecting to our souls so they stay connected to the world, not this other thing that is happening to us that Joe mentioned, this comfort in separation, this comfort in, especially for some of us, well, the world is collapsing, but I still have a nice home, and I can buy my groceries, and I have good friends, and I love my kids or my wife, or yeah, is no, we are, what is happening to the world is happening to us. And and of course, some of us who are in a place of more privilege, the main privilege is to be able to share that with others. and we are counting on that, on to continue this work, which is our lives, is what we love to do. We are going to do it anyway, but also to do it because we can support each other, we can connect to each other. And our invitation to all of you, the main way to support is to come. We invite you to, we guarantee you an experience of beauty. We guarantee you good folks like the ones you can see here, people who are engaged in active hope, who are not just hoping that things change, but they're doing something to make it change. And of course, we appreciate any help with distributing the information or with connecting us to funding possibilities. If any of you feel that you cannot travel now, but you can help support one of the young people that we want to invite, that would be amazing. I'm sure that soul will appreciate that kind of help. And any other way that you all feel that could be, yeah, that could be feasible. But to be here and to be interested in this, we really appreciate.
Mm-hmm. Hector, Sophia has a great question in the chat here.
Oh.
Would it be difficult to come and experience or help with this if we don't speak Spanish very well?
No, not at all. No, no, it's going to be bilingual. No, we are aware of that, and of course, we part of our interest was to share this with other people, and we know that for some people, English is probably more close to a language that they speak. So the whole event is going to be bilingual, and that's part of the cost, but we want to guarantee that. We think is very important that we can all communicate and share. So thank you for that question. Yeah. Sophia. Mm.
Beautiful. Well, we've got a couple links in the chat over here. One is, directly to find out about the Souls Mycelium gathering in Colombia. We've got a page up on the Work That Reconnects website that's got part of it in Spanish and part of it in English, so you can find out there and then link through to the complete site that Claudia shared in there as well. And then the other thing is, like Hector was saying, with a lot of the funding cut, even if you can't make it, if you can make a donation to Reconectando to support the Souls Mycelium, that would be greatly encouraged and appreciated. And we've got a link to that in the chat as well.
Thank you, Joe.
Mhm. And I'll let you and Claudia kind of maybe have some final words before we do a close. Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, thank you so much for being here. And I know that some people from Australia, my goodness, what's going on there? Thank you. So, oh, I just saw Uri that is also in the midnight there where, oh, hello. Well, so unfortunately we're now closing, but thank you all, and thank you again, Joe and Frida, for making this happen. And we hope to see you in Colombia. Claudia, you're better than me at closing, so
Thank you very much. I think my internet got me out a couple of times, but I'm glad to be back to close with you all. So, listening to you all, it got to me this image where the mycelium takes the energy wherever there's a space, wherever there's potential for renaissance and regeneration. So it came to me this image of what we're doing, the space we're having is about this finding the space of potential. It's about finding the gift on trauma and through healing for identifying these spaces of potential in ourselves, in our societies, in our collectives, so we can keep on weaving all this world together, all this great turning together. So thank you very much for being part of. I already feel it that this network is part of it, and you're all very welcome to come. We would love to have you here. And yeah, as Hector said, there are many ways to support us. so we can keep on weaving together this mycelium and being part of this mycelium of the earth. So thank you all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
With
So
so
we're
much
gonna
love.
have a few final words, so don't disappear yet. But yes,
Okay.
Hector and Claudia, thank you so much. And Claudia, that was so brilliant, that space that we can move into, the way the mycelium does, and the response, you know, the need, there's a need, and we can respond. We can learn from the mycelium to respond in that way. So thank you all for being here to be part of this response together, and we want to thank you for joining us in the Webinar and Conversation Cafe program. You can learn more about the Work That Reconnects network by visiting our website at workthatreconnects.org. We invite you to become a community member of the network if you're not already. That's a great way of just like really feeding into this collective community and supporting the movement of the Work That Reconnects and the growth and evolution of it. And we also love to join us at our next Work That Reconnects Network webinar program event on April 19th. It's going to be a Council of Water Beings to celebrate the film release of Water is Love. So that is also in the chat there.
Thank you both for leading this. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you all so much.
So we'll
Thank
see you
you.
soon.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you so
Blessings.
much.
Bye.
Bye.